Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Here we meet again, another day, another review from Nurul Izza from class 4C. So, today I'm going to review 10 articles that I have read before, and I have two themes. Uh, First is education, and the second is environment. So, here's the education. First, we have modern methods of teaching English in Namangan State University from M.A. Saidalefa et al. This article discusses about the most used methods to learn foreign in Namangan State University because they want to show and discuss which method is working well for college students. This research is focused on determine and choose which method is the best based on needs and teaching methods. Unfortunately, I don't really know what kind of research they use, but the sample for this research is the student from Namangan State University. They select by learning activities, and this is a short article without any illustration or even table. The conclusion is that the communicative method was rejected, but now it again occupies a leading position along with the traditional grammar translation method. Most teachers of modern university prefer these two methods, and often they are used in combination. Next, we have the effectiveness of social media network Telegram in teaching English language pronunciation to Iranian EFL learners. This research study is focusing on teachers, government, students, and also about changing the new technologies provides tool for learners and language teachers. About the effectiveness of using social media telegrams, especially in English language pronunciation, and also examine teaching English enrollment to an Iranian student EFL. There is a recent study of social media and network use, the free teaching feature, where it can be very effective and promising. Major findings Major findings of this study is there is a significant effect of the time factor from pre-test to post-test and delay test, but not from post-test to delay test. These findings suggest that the use of social media networks of telegrams has significantly contributed to improvement in participants' enrollment. And next, we have communicative language teaching, possible alternative approaches to CLT and teaching context, English language teaching from Alumni WA. In this article, Alumni WA is focusing on CLT method. This descriptive study has discussed CLT, offering both advantages and limitations. The CLT approach has led to major changes in such way in which language is taught and learned. The main idea is about CLT and its approaches. CLT is the dominant language teaching approach worldwide. It is believed that this approach has strengthened teaching and learning process because of its focus on the power of communication. However, from this article, we can know that CLT aims to make communicative competence the goal of the language teaching and the develop procedure for teaching the four language skills, including listening, speaking, reading, and writing. It's well known that CLT approach allows language learners to express themselves and their views through collaborative activities undertaken during classes. This study has a conclusion that CLT approach could be improved by assessment, should receive more attention. The main aim of the CLT is to make individuals competent in communication. This article helps a lot to know more about CLT and its purpose, approach, and also how to apply the method. Next, we have the integration of group discussion method using audio visual learning media towards students' learning achievement on listening. This article is focused on integration of group discussion method using audio-visual learning. The purpose of conducting this research is to find out how the integration of group discussion method using audio-visual learning media on the students' learning achievement on listening. In this study, the authors make it was an experimental method with the hypothesis-only control group design. The study has the conclusion that learning using QA method with audio media places students as subjects in learning, so that students are able to reconstruct their own knowledge while the teacher is only a facilitator. Next is autonomous learning of elementary students at home during the COVID-19 epidemic, a case study of the second elementary school in Daxi, Nihongo, Zhejiang province in China. From Jianyang et al. In this article, Zhou Xi and Jianyang do the research about autonomous learning during the pandemic. The study is aimed to discuss the teaching practice of home study for students during the school epidemic. This study is focusing to knowing good method and to learn how they managing the situation. However, this study is relatable to our condition nowadays and can be a reference to find a good method to use in the pandemic era. Finally, we can sum up that this article can help a lot for education student or teacher to learn and apply how effective the autonomous learning can be applied in this pandemic era. Next is about environment. First, we have health environment features complexity, uncertainty, and bodies by Brian King. In this article, Brian King and Nari Seneke are reviewing emerging health environment research, focusing about how health environment in the futures important to complexity, uncertainty, and bodies. Moreover, they focusing on three main points: complexity, uncertainty, and bodies. That is all clearly stated with trusted research. Together, global climate changes and its more than one and varied effects interspecies health and the emerging science of epigenetics help reveal dynamics and that aren't easily explained to resolve through isolating independent reason and impact relationship. Finally, the article concludes that the relationship between human health and the environment have captivated scholarly attention across a number of disciplinary and policy domains. Next is potential health risks of heavy metals pollution in the downstream of Citarum rivers by S. Sarah and Morsidik. CEB Susilo. Shara et al. Do this research to find out the levels of heavy metals in Citarum River, the most polluted river in the world, and find out potential risks. The intent audience can be science students or medical students. This article aims to determine the heavy metals such as zinc, mangan, and also iron levels of the downstream Citarum River and have investigated the potential risk of heavy metals to human health from various components that pollute water by conducting literature studies. So the impact of heavy metals pollution on rivers can be known as reference in pollution management in Citarum watershed. Moreover, analysis of river water quality and potential risk is an important tool needed to support sustainable water research management. Finally, special attention should be given to reducing the concentration of heavy metal in downstream Citarum River, will save levels of heavy metal through close monitoring of industrial waste discharge into the Citarum. Next is about health risk assessment of potential toxic elements via consumption of vegetables irrigated with polluted water in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The general problem of this study is are vegetables growing on contaminated sites they can be eaten and gather toxic and potentially toxic elements by concentrating on human health. And the general problem is vegetable growing and current study determine levels of potential toxics and irrigation water, soil samples, and vegetables growing along contaminated rivers and predicting the potential health risks on consumer. Next, we have impacts of population. In this article, the authors look at global food manufacturing development until 2030 with a partial equilibrium model of agriculture and forestry. Exogenous drivers include population growth, economic development, technical change, and opportunity deforestation policies. Their research focuses on quantifies the food manufacturing impacts of four alternative development situations from the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment and the Spatial Report on Emission Scenarios. Land and water are critical resources for the manufacturing of food and as a result constitute of the most fundamental assets for mankind. These assets are under pressure by population growth, economic development, and environmental changes. And finally, the article conclusion is international development has been feared to impose considerable challenges to global food manufacturing because more food must be produced with fewer agricultural resources. Next, we have COVID-19 lockdowns cause global air pollution decline by Zender S. Ventura et al. In this article, the authors discussing about lockdowns during coronavirus 2019 disease or COVID-19 has caused an unprecedented reduction in global economic and transport activity. Note that lockdown effects on nitrogen dioxide, which has an atmospheric lifetime of about a day, are simply discernible locally, whereas those on ozone with a lifetime of several weeks are affected by long-distance transport related to specific weather patterns. And finally, the conclusion is the pandemic plays out. Empirical facts will emerge to fill in the knowledge gaps and uncertainties associated with the air pollutant health burden attribution. Nevertheless, finding ways to reduce air pollutant emission remains important. In this article, provide empirical evidence at a global scale for coupling between vehicle transportation reduction and declining ambient nitrogen dioxide concentration. Uh, that's all from me, and those are articles that I have been read before. Thank you for watching and see you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.